Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mad Science Lab on the Fantasy Football Universe. I am Aaron St. Dennis. Follow me everywhere at FF Mad Scientist. And I almost just got Ron Burgundy here when I went to introduce Sam Waldorf and almost introduced him as YouTube because I'm Ron Burgundy and I just read whatever the fuck is on my screen. But today's guest here to talk Tennessee Titans is at Sam Waldorf, not YouTube. How's it going, Sam?
It's going good, man. And I'm going to keep that in mind next time I'm on a show with you. And I'm going to put something weird as my name just to see if you read it.
Do not do that. I will read it every time. It just goes to show you how many things I've got going. The guys screw with me every once in a while too. Because I'm running the stream and I'm running the graphics and this and that. And I'm tweeting out the show and all that. I've got 9 different things going on. And then I'm writing the timestamps and everything down. And then they'll throw something up on the screen and I'll read it and I'll be like, you sons of bitches. Why would you do that to me? So you'll get me. But before we get into the Tennessee Titans, why don't you take a second to tell everyone where they can find you and your work?
Yeah, for sure, man. First off, thanks for having me on. Best place to find me would be on YouTube at Sam Waldorf. If you look up Sam Waldorf, fantasy football, it is just at Sam Waldorf if you go to YouTube. Started a channel in about January, so just been having fun making videos on my own and trying to grow that this off season. Really excited to, get into the year this year as we start to pick up into not only dynasty season, but redraft season as well coming around.
Well, thank you for joining me. We will talk Titans. Maybe there's a little more excitement this year around this Titans team. Last year, I could not pay someone to talk Tennessee Titans. They're not one of the it's like the Commanders. Nobody really wants to talk about them. So, excuse me, we will start off with the quarterbacks. Will Levis, second-year quarterback out of Kentucky, was QB 33 last year, didn't play the whole season. Going as QB 24 right now. Backup is Mason Rudolph and Malik Willis. What are your thoughts here on this QB room? I'm mixed bag. Rookie, coming in through the rookie process, I loved Will Levis. I thought Will Levis was awesome. I know this is going to sound like an insult, but it's not. I comped him to Sam Howell. I'm a Sam Howell guy, though, so don't take that as an insult. I just think the both of them have that arm and that gunslinger mentality where they're going to throw up 5 touchdown, 40-point games, and then they're going to draw you a complete blank with 5 interceptions. And that's how I see Will Levis. He's got that Brett Favre gunslinger. He's going to boom or bust for you, but he does have some upside there. I think he's a great best ball quarterback. Don't know if I'd really want him as my quarterback in fantasy. What do you think?
Yeah, I think as you have it pulled up here, ECR 24, I think that's about right. I think it builds in a little upside that this offense could improve this year. As a Titans guy, or if you're just looking forward more NFL-wise instead of fantasy football-wise, I think it's smart. I think I saw enough last year that you get an offensive coach in, you give him some weapons, you improve the offensive line, and let's see what he can do with a whole season. It's always tough to come in halfway through. You didn't get the offseason as the starter. Those things may sound silly, but I do think they're really important, man. There's a reason even us fantasy analysts, we like to plan our shows out. Now, we can just hop in and give it a little improv and go for it, but we like to be planned and prepared for things. I think it's the same thing for NFL teams, especially quarterbacks. So I'm at least excited to see Will Levis. I wouldn't say I'm fully sold he's going to be the future superstar, but he was a second-round pick. So, it's not like they invested this crazy high capital in the guy. So I think I'm excited to see what he can do this year. And then if they need to move off, they only put a second round into him and they can move into a new quarterback next year.
Yeah, you are correct. And as you said, QB 24, we have the ADP on screen. If you want to see the Tennessee Titans team page or any of the other team pages, head over to fantasyfootballuniverse.com and check it out. We've got schedules, all the team projections and rankings, depth charts for offense and defense, and our little weather widget there that auto updates automatically. And it just helps game time decisions here on weather and whatnot. We'll move on here to the running backs. We've got the newly acquired Tony Pollard was RB21 going as 29. Tyjae Spears, RB33. Then we have Dylan Johnson, the rookie out of Washington. Hassan Haskins out of Michigan, and Julius Chestnut, my guy, when in his rookie year, never really got the opportunity, but I always loved Julius Chestnut. How do you think this one shakes out?
Yeah, I think the Pollard signing was interesting. I lean towards being a pretty big Tajay Spears fan. I've been all over him for the last couple years. I still think he's a very good value. So I thought the Tony Pollard signing was interesting. But when it comes down to it, $24 million, 3-year deal is what he got. It's not a crazy amount of money, and they're not super highly invested. And if they want to get out from him, I think what is cool about Tony Pollard is I think him and Spears comp very well. So I think whichever one is on the field, I don't really think it's a tell, which I do think is a good thing NFL wise. And then I actually like Dylan Johnson as a undrafted free agent. I think he was pretty good at Washington, and I like him as a depth guy. I don't really have too many hopes for him as a fantasy football weapon, but I think he's a good guy to have around. I think he showed he can handle the ball at Washington.
This running back room just seems like a bunch of unwanted spare parts that I might have a couple, a share of each guy here and there and just hope they hit. But I don't really think I don't have too many shares here. I had a whole lot of Tajay Spears, but his ADP, I know it says 33, but I feel like in some of the other leagues, underdog and whatnot, it's starting to climb up there and it's not at 33. At RB 33, I'd have a lot of shares of him. I feel like he's going higher in the 20s. So let's
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's 1 to 2 Tajay Spears guys, and they tend to take him and have him probably higher than 32. But like you said, yeah, I saw him going at 32 on some stuff. I was looking on Fantasy Pros, so it depends on the value there. So
that was my theory behind Kyle Pitts. Everyone said Kyle Pitts is a buy low for the last few years. And I always said Kyle Pitts is not a buy low because there's one player in every league that loves Kyle Pitts and is a Kyle Pitts truther. And he's the guy who currently rosters Kyle Pitts, and he's not going to sell you Kyle Pitts at a discount. So I get Tajay Spears isn't the same level, but the Tajay Spears truthers are the ones who own Tajay Spears, and you're not getting a discount. And there's always one guy in every draft who's drafting them early. We'll move on here to wide receiver. It's interesting mix of talk about spare parts. We go from running back to wide receiver, and this team is a mishmash of interesting pieces. We've got Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks, Tyler Boyd, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Kyle Phillips, who I really liked, but he's buried here, Jaquan Jackson, Colton Dowell, and Mason Kinsey. What the hell do we do with this room?
I actually think there might be some value in this wide receiver room when it comes to fantasy football. I think Hopkins and Ridley are basically going back to back at 36 and 37 in a lot of leagues, ADP wise. And when it comes down to it, they both outperformed that ADP last year. Now, obviously, it's a different situation. Hopkins was in Tennessee last year with Levis, Ridley coming over from the Jaguars. But what I like to look at here is actually if you dig in to kind of some of the pass rate numbers of these teams from the last couple of years. The Titans were 24th in the league last year at a 55% pass rate. Cincinnati was all the way up at number 2, 63% pass rate. And why I bring that up is obviously the coaching staff coming over from Cincinnati to be the head coach. So I think there may be a little upside in the Tennessee passing game that's been kind of pushed down in the last couple of years with Derrick Henry kind of being the workhorse of that offense. So I actually like taking a shot on Hopkins or Ridley in redraft, especially. I think Dynasty, it depends on price. If I can get Hopkins or Ridley pretty cheap and I need a guy for depth, I would. I'm not paying up for them. But I think in general, I think there could be some value in this Tennessee passing offense if they pass more and Levis outperforms his ADP, which, like you said, you like him as a Sam Howell comparison. Sam Howell threw a lot fantasy-wise. He may not be a great NFL quarterback, but he was able to get some fantasy production last year in Washington.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a case of a lot of these guys I'm taking late. Burks I have stashed on a bunch of dynasty leagues. I'm not out on him. Tyler Boyd, I don't know what to think. I don't know. He's buried again. He's been buried his whole career, buried here. Ridley and Hopkins for the right price are guys I'm definitely targeting. I don't love them. They're just kind of more so Hopkins. I like Hopkins more than Ridley. I've never been the Ridley guy. I also feel like Hopkins is going considerably higher. So I don't know. This is much like the running back room. It's a case of I'm not really targeting them, but if they fall to me at the right price, they're on my board. We will go to tight end here. The guy I love, Chigo Okonkwo. I'm one of the believers of all that matters at tight end is athleticism. So he was kind of disappointing. 26 last year, going as tight end 21 this year. Josh Wiley, Nick Vanette behind him. What are your thoughts here on Chig and the tight end room?
I mean, I think redraft wise, I don't really see a reason to take Chig, but obviously the, ECR is showing that he's not really going as a starting tight end. I do like him in a best ball format if you're kind of stacking late tight ends and you're trying to get some guys who have potential to break big plays, because that's kind of what he is like you said, he's an athletic guy, so he has the chance to break a big play here and there. I don't think I'd want to depend on him week in and week out, but if he is a part of your stockpile of tight ends in a best ball format, I could see it working out there. I'm not really trying to invest in him in Dynasty too much. I just think there's a lot better players that if you're going to go buy a tight end, I think you should be aiming higher than Chigo Okonkwo. But if you have him, I think he's got some talent. I wouldn't just be cutting him.
Yeah, the leagues I have him are mostly Dynasty. I don't have a lot of interest in him in redraft outside of a deep league like Scott Fishbowl where it's tight end premium and you're just stacking tight ends. Moment of truth, I guess, based on their ADP, give or take a bit, who's a player you're going to target on this team and who's one you're avoiding for redraft?
Well, I think the avoid for me would be Chigo Okonkwo, but I think that's kind of like a cop-out just because, I don't really think he's going. So I would say
none of these guys really are. It's not like you're avoiding any of these guys in the first round.
I think for me, I'm avoiding Tony Pollard. I would much rather invest in Tajay Spears if I'm trying to attack that running back room. And they're basically going pretty close to each other. So if you're getting the choice between them, I'm going to take Spears every time. And if Spears is gone, I'm not going to take the shot on Pollard. I just think there's better players in that area. And the guys who I think could outperform are Hopkins and Ridley, just like I went over earlier. I think we are taking too much stock in what the Titans have been the last 3 years when the way their offense looks was being so run heavy, but they completely changed their coaching staff. They upgraded the offensive line, and I think they're just going to pass a little more this year, which brings some upside. I'm not saying I'm taking Ridley and Hopkins in the 4th round, but I'm comfortable at wide receiver 36 and 37, taking a shot on one of them because they have a chance to be in the 20s, I think. So I think there's a little room for them to outperform their ADP.
All right, let's take a look here at the schedule and do some win-loss projection. Let's see if you can get the Titans to 13 wins and make the playoffs, because as of now, you need 13 wins to make the playoffs. So I will name the game. You tell me win or loss. Week 1 at Chicago.
I have this one as a win. I'm not going to try to be too much of a homer as we go over this, but I do think rookie quarterback, obviously Odunze is a rookie, a lot of new pieces on that Bears roster. I think the Titans can take that one as they still do have a fairly good defense. And I think Levis might come out and have a good game week 1.
I see. You're going to rein it in, but yet we're starting undefeated. My last guest told me this too. They said, I'm going to be very realistic and I'm not going to be too biased. And they had their team starting 6-1. And I'm going, perfect way to be non-biased. So let's continue it here. Week 2, home against the Jets.
This is a loss for me. I just don't think they are as good as the Jets unless we have a freak Aaron Rodgers week 1 accident again and someone else is out on the field for them. But I don't think that's going to be the game for the Titans to get one.
Week 3, home against the Packers.
Different team, same story. I have an L for them against the Packers. I think the Packers are a pretty good team this year, and I just don't think the Titans really have the talent, especially early in the season, to compete with them.
Week 4 at Miami.
Another L for the Titans. They cannot score with the Dolphins, especially down in Miami.
All right, you've got them 1-3 going into the bye week. Week 6, home against the Colts.
So I have them as a win here against the Colts. Titans have been pretty good in their division over the past 5 years. Now, they do have a different coaching staff, but I like them in a couple of these home games in their division Whereas we get farther in the schedule, you'll kind of see when they're on the road in their division, I'm not as confident.
Next two are tough, starting week 7 at Buffalo.
Yeah, this is a pretty easy loss for me. At no point did I have them winning this game.
I think Buffalo's down, but still, yeah. The toughest one on the schedule may be this one, week 8 at Detroit.
Yeah, this is another loss for me. I'm trying, I love the Titans, man, but I think they're a young team, new coaching staff. I think it could be a bumpy season for them.
Next up, week 9, home against the Patriots.
So this is another win for me. Patriots, maybe one of the least talented rosters in the NFL this year. They do have some pieces I like, but I'm not really putting them as a threat. And I think the Titans can get this win.
All right. I won't hold that one against you. Back another easy game here-ish. I mean, relative. Week 10 at the Chargers.
This is just a loss for me. I actually think the Chargers are going to be pretty good this year, especially by later in the season. I think they'll probably catch a groove. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Chargers kind of come November, December, start to look like a threat in the AFC.
Week 11, home to the Vikings.
I got another loss here. This is one of the ones that I am a little more toss-up-y. I think if you're asking me to pick now, I'm calling it a loss. I think if I see some good things out of the Titans earlier in the season, I do see this as a winnable game. NFC team, they don't really play each other a bunch. But as of now, I just think the Vikings are probably going to be a better team. And week 11, McCarthy's just going to have a little more reps under his chest, and he's going to be playing a little better. Whereas if you caught him week 1, I think I might have picked the Titans to win this game.
Sorry, I was interrupted briefly. Important podcast stuff. Got to interrupt it for advice on which level to choose for his video game. Kids. Week 12. Let me get back on track here at the Texans.
I have this as another loss. I just think the Texans win that division this year. And in the past, Titans have been able to win some games against the Texans. But in the past, they did not have C.J. Stroud, and I think that's going to change over the next 5-10 years. I think the Texans are going to be the team to beat.
Week 13 at Washington.
I got this as a win. I think some of the patterns, if you've noticed, with the exception of the Colts win, which is a division game at home, the 3 wins I have the Titans projected for right now are all against rookie quarterbacks, Daniels, Drake May, and Caleb Williams. I do like these quarterbacks, but in general, rookie quarterbacks easier to win against than a vet who's seen you before and is just used to the NFL. And also, not only do these teams have rookie quarterbacks, maybe the Bears are a little more ready to compete, but the Patriots and Commanders are rebuilding and really trying to get their footing as well, kind of like the Titans. So,
week 14, home to the Jags.
So this is the last win I have for the Titans here. I think at home, I like them over the Jags. I think that's kind of the difference for me, especially the Jags and the Colts games. I like them at home. On the road, I think it could be a different story.
Week 15, home against the Bengals.
So this one will be fun, man. I really do hope the Titans are having a better season at this point and winning more games than I'm projecting for them. Their old coach going against them. So maybe they get something. He fires them up. But in general, I just don't see them taking down Burrow in week 15 when playoffs are probably going to be on the line and seeding on the line at that point.
Okay, week 16 at the Colts.
So here's the split with the Colts. I think the Colts at home take this one from the Titans.
Okay, week 17 at Jacksonville.
Same thing here, and kind of rough schedule coming down the stretch here. A lot of division games, but they get them at home earlier in the year. This is another loss for me going to Jacksonville in week 17.
And they close it out home to the Texans.
This is just not going to be pretty. I don't really see them winning this game unless the Texans have such an incredible record that they are sitting all of their stars, and then maybe the Titans hit that. Titans over under was at 6.5, I think, last time I checked. So I have them under for the season if you're asking me to put a number on it. But I'm probably not making that bet because I'm still going to be rooting for them every week.
You have them at 5-12, so it's probably one of the more realistic projections we've had. Thank you for joining me. Before we get out of here, want to tell everyone once again where they can find you.
Yeah, check me out on YouTube at Sam Waldorf, doing a bunch of Dynasty content right now. I love to interact with everyone. So if you come over, hit subscribe, leave a comment, tell me you came from this channel. I'd love to see if anyone comes over from it. Love collabing, and go Titans, man. I do think they're moving in the right direction. I don't think they're going to have the best season, but I like some of their draft picks. And I at least like that they're going with an offensive coach to try to switch things up for Levis.
I am a believer in Levis myself, so hopefully he turns it around. But thank you all for tuning into the Tennessee Titans preview with Sam Waldorf. If you want to check out any of these team pages, head over to fantasyfootballuniverse.com. Can't talk. I almost said thank you to Tham. Thank you to Sam for joining me, and thank you all for tuning in. If I could talk. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.